Have you ever wondered what true darkness feels like? Not the absence of light, but a living, breathing evil that lurks where hope has died.
They call it the darkest hospital on earth, Blackthorn Psychiatric Hospital.
For over a century, the walls have echoed with torment. Shattered minds, forbidden treatments, and disappearances that were never investigated. I came here to document mental health history. Instead, I became the next patient of something far more sinister.
If you think psychiatric hospitals are places of healing, prepare to be terrified.
I still remember that chill the moment I saw the job listing. Historical preservation nurse needed. Blackthorn Psychiatric Hospital, remote, archival duty. It seemed perfect. My two passions in one package. Nursing experience with a dark, possibly haunted twist. Archive patient records, help stabilize old wings, the description said. Months of solitary research inside the legendary institution that even paranormal investigators whispered about. I lied to myself, it's just paperwork. A chance to rescue fragile stories from dust and mold, shield them from decay. That evening, I drove up the twisting mountain road under a blood-red moon. The gates to Blackthorn loomed like prison bars. Rust and vine choked the way in. Inside, it was worse than I'd imagined. The brick facade was cracked under centuries of rot. Windows were boarded up haphazardly, and oily water dripped from the Gothic guttering. My phone had 0 bars by the time I found the lobby door, its glass intact but coated in grime. I pushed inside, a foyer, grand but frozen in time. A chandelier hung broken overhead. A reception desk sat buried in dust covers like mortuary blankets. Paint peeled from walls, revealing streaks of dark red that may or may not have been blood. I stepped across the threshold to the smell of damp carpet and old sweat.
A single lamp, plugged into a still live outlet, cast a timid pool of yellow light, enough to land on a single piece of paper taped to the desk. Do not stay after dark. Someone, or something, doesn't like visitors. It should have frightened me, but I laughed it off. Tour guide's note, no big deal, I said aloud to the empty room, but my own voice echoed sharply back at me. I set up my makeshift base in what must have once been the staff lounge. Cracked leather club chairs, broken filing cabinets, antique medical journals stacked against the wall. I powered up a portable lamp and flipped through the first patient file, patient. First line, catatonic, then whispers, behind the walls, calling me. That was the moment doubt entered my head. All certainty drained as I started to hear a distant sound. The faint scraping of something heavy across the floor. My pen stopped mid-note. I tightened my grip and thanked myself for bringing my nurse's badge. At least authorities would know I belonged here. Or so I told myself. Night sprang in without warning. Sunset crept up the warped windows, followed by the die-off of every bird, cricket, or nocturnal soundtrack I had banked on. By 2:10 a.m., the lounge was silent, too silent. That's when the sobbing began. It rolled out from the east wing like a tide pooling at the end of a hallway. I grabbed my headlamp and started walking. Floors cracked underfoot, plaster dust puffing with each step. As I moved deeper, the atmosphere grew colder, a quicksilver drop that squeezed my lungs. I traced the sobbing to room 12, door closed, exterior light off. My pulse thundered. I knocked once, nothing. Then the sound grew softer, turning into a rasping inhalation. I set my bag down, slowly lifted the handle. It opened with a heavy squeal. Inside, empty bed, upholstery stripped, mattress torn. On the nightstand, something slick. Dark red streaks on the glossy surface. I swallowed, felt bile rise. On the wall behind the bed, I read 4 words scratched disturbingly. You're next. The sobbing stopped. The quiet rang. My heartbeat echoed, drowning out rational thought. I backed out, grabbed my bag, and ran toward the stairs, nearly dropping my camera at the sight of hundreds of words carved into the hallway walls. Do not sleep. He's watching. The walls bleed. I took refuge in the lounge. Every surface vibrated softly, like slow breathing. I sat until the first rays of dawn seeped inside, and I stayed until the sobbing finally fled with the night. Daylight didn't heal things, it just postponed the horror. My calm was fragile. I skipped lunch and half-dosed coffee, but there was still more work to do. I chewed through patient number 72's notes. Her final entry. Something followed me upstairs. Her face, girl's face, and eyes, so sad. At 6 p.m., I returned to the lounge and accidentally looked up into the second-floor window. There she was, a misshapen silhouette in layers of white.
thin, almost translucent, hair tangled. She turned and seemed to lock her eyes with me, even though she had no eyes. I blinked. She wasn't there. I grabbed my notebooks and fled down the hall. I heard a toppled filing cabinet behind me. The sound shattered the library quiet halls. I didn't look back until I reached a stairwell full of pooling moonlight. As anxiety hammered in my chest, I saw them. Muddy footprints, not mine, leading from the lounge to the east wing. Fresh, damp. Recognition hit me. Someone or something had followed me in. My laptop lay open. The images on screen glowed. In one, I had framed the lounge table. Reflected in the broken window pane behind me was the skinny figure in white, crouched and staring. It hadn't been there when I shot the photo. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every rattling floorboard, every dripping faucet sounded like footsteps closing in. I barely slept. The next day I woke to dread tightening around my chest. I tried to work, but my hands shook as I flipped through dusty paperwork. By evening I decided to explore the third-floor ward, a section supposedly sealed after a tragedy in the 50s. The hallway beyond the locked double doors smelled of antiseptic and decay. Paint peeled from the walls in long strips. A single overhead bulb buzzed weakly. My headlamp felt childish in its faint glow. As I walked, I heard voices, not screams or moans, but chattering. It sounded like nurses attending to patients. Laughter even. But distant, distorted, slow, unnerving. I followed the sound, pushing deeper into the dim hallway, flashlights beamed dancing nervously across cracked linoleum. At the far end I found a line of empty beds, neatly made, but two old wheelchairs faced each other in the center, their handles deep in shadow. On one seat a doll, its porcelain face cracked, stuffed in an antique hospital gown stained dark. I recognized it from a photo among the archives, a patient's favorite toy. I stepped forward. The doll's head turned. The laughter stopped. The room fell silent. My heart thundered. Then something faint. Antique laughter. Childlike but jagged. The doll rocked. I fled. Back in the staff lounge, I grabbed my voice recorder. I planned to document the noises overnight. I remember setting it on record around midnight, then wandering into the hall to wait. The recorder should have captured the endless ambience, buzzing lights, stale air, perhaps even a whisper or two. When I played it back, there was nothing, at first. Then layers emerged. Faint sobs, a woman giggling low, a child calling "Nurse, nurse!" in no child's voice, thin, echoing, older. And then, unmistakably, whispered directly into the recorder's mic, "Get out while you can." It wasn't my voice, yet it spoke my name. The archivist hat skimmed against my doubts. I'd come to preserve, not flee. Still, I couldn't sleep. So I chased the whispers to the west wing. There, a door labeled "Suicide Room" stood closed for decades. Keyless, unopened. It clicked when I pushed. Inside, the bed never looked lived in, not messy at all. The walls were blood red, the drapes shredded. A single scribble overs the bed. "Save me." It washed my head in cold sweat. On the floor, I stepped in something wet. I looked down, footprints in blood leading to the far corner. I found myself following them as if under hypnosis, pulling my lamp around, until my beam struck the tubs of murky water in the corner, swarming with strange debris that looked like skin? Hair? The door slammed behind me. Then the air ate the daylight out of my lamp. Darkness pressed forward. I sprinted out, slamming the door behind me. Shaken, I decided to leave. But on the stairs, the quiet broke again. My name hissed through the hall like a snake. I followed it. In room 47, the catatonic patient, I found the bed stripped, the hinges busted. Inside, a woman lay across it, eyes black and empty. She stood as I entered, mouth stretching impossibly into a grin, the hooks on her IV line rubbing against her skin like claws. I turned to flee. I heard my own voice behind me repeating, "M-E, L-O-V-E, M-E." And then I realized that wasn't me. It was her voice, mine. I ran screaming from the hospital, descending those stairs like I was falling. By dawn, I was outside, panting in the parking lot. Blackthorn lay behind me, silent and empty again. But I wasn't the same. After a weekend in bed, shaken, my therapist said I was suffering medical-grade trauma. Hallucinations, night terrors. I knew better. The dark hadn't stayed inside those walls. It had followed me home.